Imagine a gigantic stone figure standing silently in the Egyptian desert for nearly 5,000 years. It has outlived the pharaohs, the Roman emperors, the Arab conquerors, and even modern nations. It has witnessed the rise and fall of some of the greatest civilizations in history, yet it still guards its greatest secret. Who built the Great Sphinx? Why was a creature with the body of a lion and the face of a human carved from a single mass of limestone? And why, after thousands of years, do scholars still debate its true origin? Every year, millions of people travel to the Giza Plateau to see the famous pyramids. Yet for many visitors, it is the Great Sphinx that leaves the deepest impression. Stretching more than 70 meters in length and standing about 20 meters tall, the colossal monument rests silently before the pyramids, its face turned toward the east, where the sun rises every morning. Today, its expression appears calm, almost melancholy. But when you stand before it, it feels less like a monument and more like a silent witness to history, one that has watched empires rise and disappear while keeping its secrets hidden from the world. Most Egyptologists believe the Great Sphinx was carved around 2500 BC during the reign of Pharaoh Khafra. The monument stands beside his pyramid complex, and many researchers have noted similarities between the Sphinx's face and surviving statues of Khafra, although centuries of erosion and damage make a definitive identification impossible. According to the most widely accepted theory, the Sphinx symbolized the power of the pharaoh while serving as the sacred guardian of the royal necropolis. In ancient Egyptian culture, the lion represented strength, courage, and royal authority, while the human face symbolized wisdom and divine kingship. Together, they created one of the most powerful symbols of the ancient world. But almost immediately another question arises. If the Sphinx was truly built by Khafra, why do ancient Egyptian records say so little about its construction? The pharaohs usually celebrated their greatest achievements. They carved inscriptions describing temples, palaces, monuments, and military victories, ensuring that future generations would remember their accomplishments. Yet surprisingly, few ancient texts mention the creation of the Great Sphinx. This silence has fueled countless mysteries. One of the most famous stories is connected to the Dream Stele, a granite monument placed between the Sphinx's paws by Pharaoh Thutmose IV about 1,000 years after the statue was supposedly carved. According to its inscription, the young prince fell asleep beside the nearly buried monument while hunting. In his dream, the Sphinx spoke to him, promising that he would become pharaoh if he cleared away the sand that had almost completely covered its body. When Thutmose eventually became king, he fulfilled that promise. He ordered the Sphinx to be excavated and erected the Dream Stele to commemorate the event. The story reveals that even 15 centuries before the birth of Christ, the Sphinx was already regarded as an ancient and sacred monument whose origins inspired awe and mystery. But time continued to test the monument. Century after century, powerful desert winds buried it beneath enormous drifts of sand. At times, only its massive head remained visible, while the rest of its body disappeared beneath the desert. Entire generations knew the Sphinx only as a mysterious face emerging from the sands of Egypt. It was not until the 19th and 20th centuries that archaeologists finally succeeded in completely uncovering the monument. Their work revealed something extraordinary. Unlike the pyramids, which were built from millions of carefully cut stone blocks, the Great Sphinx was carved directly from a single natural limestone outcrop. Ancient workers removed thousands of tons of rock to create one enormous sculpture. For its time, it was an astonishing engineering achievement. Yet the more researchers studied the monument, the more questions emerged. One of the most famous mysteries concerns its missing nose. A popular legend claims that Napoleon's soldiers destroyed it with cannon fire during the French campaign in Egypt. However, historical evidence does not support this story. Drawings made decades before Napoleon arrived already show the Sphinx without its nose. Most historians believe the damage occurred much earlier. According to medieval accounts, a religious zealot deliberately defaced the monument during the 14th century because local people were making offerings near the ancient statue. Although historians continue to debate the details, this explanation remains the most widely accepted. An even greater controversy surrounds the age of the Sphinx itself. Mainstream Egyptology places its construction during the reign of Khafra. However, some researchers argue that patterns of erosion visible on the monument and the surrounding enclosure appear more consistent with prolonged rainfall than with wind and sand alone. If that interpretation were ever conclusively proven, the Sphinx could be far older than the traditional timeline suggests. Most archaeologists, however, maintain that the available archaeological evidence still strongly supports a construction date during Egypt's Old Kingdom. The debate continues because no decisive evidence has yet overturned the established chronology. There is another fascinating question. Why does the Sphinx face directly toward the east? Every morning, the first rays of the rising sun illuminate its face. Many Egyptologists believe this alignment reflects the importance of the solar cult in ancient Egypt. Sunrise symbolized rebirth, eternal life, and the triumph of light over darkness. Perhaps that is why this enormous guardian has greeted every dawn for nearly 5,000 years without ever turning its gaze. But there is another legend, one that has made the Great Sphinx famous far beyond Egypt itself. It speaks of hidden chambers beneath the monument and of forgotten knowledge left behind by an ancient civilization. But perhaps the greatest mystery surrounding the Great Sphinx is not its missing nose or even its true age. It is the legend of what may lie hidden beneath it. For centuries, travelers, historians, and explorers have spoken of secret chambers concealed below the monument. Some believed they contained royal treasures. Others imagined hidden passages leading to forgotten temples. The most extraordinary legends claimed that beneath the Sphinx rested an ancient library containing the lost knowledge of a civilization far older than the pharaohs themselves. One of the most famous stories is known as the Hall of Records. According to this legend, somewhere beneath the Sphinx lies a hidden chamber filled with ancient scrolls, scientific knowledge, maps, and historical records that could completely transform our understanding of human civilization. Some versions of the story even suggest that these records were created by the survivors of Atlantis before their civilization disappeared beneath the sea. It is an exciting idea. But is there any evidence to support it? So far, no. Modern archaeology has never discovered a hidden library beneath the Great Sphinx. Although researchers have detected natural cavities and fractures within the limestone beneath the monument, none of them has been proven to be a secret chamber containing ancient records. Still, the mystery refuses to disappear. Throughout the 20th century, several scientific surveys used ground-penetrating radar and seismic imaging to study the plateau around the Sphinx. These investigations identified underground anomalies that attracted considerable attention. Some researchers suggested they might represent buried chambers, Others argued they were simply natural voids created over thousands of years as the limestone gradually eroded. Without careful excavation, it is impossible to know for certain. Because the Great Sphinx is one of the world's most valuable archaeological monuments, Egyptian authorities allow only extremely limited exploration beneath and around it. Any excavation carries the risk of damaging the fragile structure, making archaeologists understandably cautious. This careful approach means that many questions remain unanswered. There is another fascinating mystery. Why was the Sphinx carved in the first place? Protective lion statues existed elsewhere in the ancient world, but none approached the scale of the Great Sphinx. Creating such a monument required enormous planning, thousands of workers, and years of labor. It was a project unlike almost anything humanity had attempted before. Some Egyptologists believe the monument represented the divine power of the king, protecting the pyramids and guiding the soul of the pharaoh into the afterlife. Others think it also served an astronomical purpose. Because the Sphinx faces the rising sun, some researchers believe it played an important role in religious ceremonies connected with the solar god Ra. Every morning, as the first light of dawn illuminated the face of the monument, it symbolized rebirth, renewal, and the eternal cycle of life. Whether this symbolism was intentional or partly coincidental remains a subject of ongoing research. Another question continues to puzzle historians. How did ancient builders achieve such extraordinary precision? Working with copper tools, stone hammers, and simple measuring instruments, they transformed a natural limestone ridge into one of the largest monolithic sculptures ever created. Even today, modern engineers admire the remarkable planning required to complete such a project. The Great Sphinx has also survived challenges that few monuments could endure. It has faced sandstorms, earthquakes, floods, centuries of erosion, and even deliberate acts of vandalism. For thousands of years, the desert repeatedly buried it beneath massive dunes, only for later generations to uncover it once again. It has almost disappeared from sight more than once, yet somehow, it still remains. That resilience has made the Sphinx more than an archaeological monument. It has become a global symbol of mystery itself. Writers, filmmakers, historians, and travelers continue to be inspired by its silent presence. Every new archaeological discovery in Egypt raises fresh hopes that another clue about the Sphinx may finally emerge. Modern technology offers possibilities that previous generations could only imagine. Three-dimensional laser scanning now records every crack and weathered surface with astonishing accuracy. Ground-penetrating radar allows scientists to investigate what lies beneath the earth without disturbing the monument. Artificial intelligence is increasingly helping researchers analyze erosion patterns, construction techniques, and satellite imagery in ways that were impossible only a few years ago. Perhaps one day these technologies will answer questions that have remained unsolved for millennia. Or perhaps the Great Sphinx will continue to guard its secrets. History has repeatedly shown that remarkable discoveries often appear when least expected. Forgotten tombs have been uncovered beneath ordinary fields. Ancient cities have been revealed beneath dense forests. Long-lost temples have emerged from beneath desert sands after centuries of silence. Who can say that the next great discovery will not happen at Giza? Perhaps somewhere beneath the limestone, perhaps beneath centuries of buried sand, or perhaps hidden in records that have yet to be translated. The final answers may still be waiting. Until then, the Great Sphinx remains one of humanity's greatest enigmas, a silent guardian of ancient Egypt whose stone face has watched the sunrise for nearly 5,000 years while refusing to reveal the full story of its creation. And perhaps that is exactly why millions of people continue to stand before it in silence, wondering whether the world's oldest guardian still has one last secret left to tell.